Thank you, Dorothy. My, you good people sure look nice from up here. But even better than from out there when I used to sit with you. And you know, up in the balcony we have a fine young gentleman up there who has the ability just to cut me off like that. Arlen, I love you. Don't stay with me. I want to share briefly with you 4 things in my life. Salvation, doubt, prayer, and giving. Salvation, doubt, prayer, and giving. I'm going to have to follow the script because if I don't, I'll chase rabbits all day long. 50 years ago, I accepted Christ as my personal Savior. I was 12 years old. It wasn't just a decision. I had the greatest experience of my life. I instantly enjoyed a new birth. I became a new person. Christ lifted me out of a pit of miry clay and set my feet on a solid rock, as the psalmist has said. He put a new song in my heart. I was clean inside and outside. It was miraculous. I wasn't struck down and blinded like Paul. But other than Paul, I have never heard of a conversion greater than mine. I'm not bragging or boasting. I'm just saying that's how it seemed to me. It would take all day to tell you about it. There are no human words that can express it. I just hope you have had or will have even a greater experience than I had. During these 50 years, I have never doubted my salvation. I have been tempted to doubt. 3 or 4 times the devil has tempted me to doubt my salvation. But all I had to do was to go back to that day, July day in 1936, when I accepted Christ as my personal Savior, and he would tuck his tail and flee like a scared dog. I honestly don't think that Satan ever attempted or tried to tempt Paul to doubt his conversion. I think he was afraid to. There's no greater joy than to know in whom we have believed. God has answered so many of my prayers I don't know where to begin. Let me just mention a few. I was in Patton's Third Army throughout Europe during the war. No, it wasn't the Civil War. I'm old, but not quite that old. On one of many occasions, I was standing in a vertical foxhole with only my neck sticking out. It was in the shadow of a hedgerow, and the Germans were dug in to my right in a nearby woods. It was midnight, the full moon was shining, and I had to cross an open pasture to another foxhole on the other side. I'd never been there, but hours before, the sergeant of the guard had informed me that if I would go at a 90-degree angle to the line I was on, that I would find this foxhole over there. But I was scared. No way could I cross without being seen. So I prayed. As soon as I had started praying, the fear left. So I knew God was hearing me. But I asked, Lord, how? All at once I felt a hot breath down the back of my neck, and something was licking the sweat off my hair under my helmet. I slowly turned around, reached up and put my arm around the neck of a big sheep. He pulled me up out of that hole with my rifle still on my shoulder. I looked around, and there were at least 400 sheep, and I had a hold of their leader. I got on my knees, and holding on to him, I crawled across that pasture right in the middle of all those sheep. Then getting over there, I said, now, Lord, thanks for getting me over here, but you got to help me find the hole. The sheep were so thick, you see, I couldn't see the ground. So slowly, they started spreading out as if they themselves had heard the voice of the shepherd. And sure enough, there it was. I dropped off into the hole safely after giving that sheep one last big hug. A few years ago, I took my family on a 17-day tour of Old Mexico and the West Coast. That morning, we loaded into the car, pulled out of the carport, and stopped. We had family prayer, thanked God for the vacation, and asking for a safe trip. We had a wonderful time, didn't see one wreck, not even the screeching of any tires. And it was my first drive on the freeways of Los Angeles. A few years ago, I had a big problem, and for 3 months I worked on it myself. Every few days, 6 of us would sit on one side and 6 on the other side of a table. We were trying to negotiate and reach an agreement. We were getting further and further apart. One night I got on my knees beside my bed and asked God to help. I asked that we not be selfish, but do what was right for all concerned. I also asked for just one sign for him to show me the next day that he was here. I called my mother and dad by phone and asked them to pray. Then I went to bed and slept soundly. The next day, instead of arguing until midnight, after a few short hours, we were shaking hands in complete agreement. Everything went perfect. That night, I counted over 100 signs God had given me. I had asked for one, he had given 100. I've learned that God doesn't do things in a small way. Matthew 7:7 says, "Ask and you will be given what you ask for." 35 years ago, we asked God to help us build a house. We promised to pay monthly on a 25-year loan. We were never late on a single payment. We put our 5 children through college and do not owe a penny. The only thing we owe is to love God and our neighbors as ourselves. We go 15 to 20 years without a financial stress. But 2 weeks ago, after helping 2 of our children in a big way, we had a temporary cash flow problem. My wife and I agreed to go ahead and give our regular offering to our church. We kept $1 each. I said, "Now God, with your help, we're going to make out on these $2. 3 days later, I received an unexpected refund check on some medical bills. I learned long ago that giving back to God his 10th plus some always left plenty for everything else. I have not found a way to outgive God. Let me say that again. I have not found a way to outgive God. I live on a hillside and grow a vegetable garden. For 30 years we have had dry weather, floods, hailstorms, insects. But every year God has given all we can eat. We filled our big freezer full every year and shared with dozens of people. How selfish it would be just to plant enough for my family. There are 7 widows on our street who don't have a garden. God doesn't do things in a small way. He usually has 12 or more baskets of food left over as scraps.